What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality. Invincible Season 4 Episode 5 just dropped, and boy oh boy, it's got all the baby mama llama drama that you could ask for. From exploring Omni-Man's resurfacing on planet Earth and the materialization of the consequences that follow, to the Coalition's bout with the Viltrumites, which your boy Conquistador strangely turned into a sausage fest, let's explore the core themes emerging in this episode. I mean, the baby mama drama in Invincible Season 4 was getting a little too hot for the weather. And I mean, it was needed. For maybe the first time in his 1,000-year venture, Nolan was met with the detrimental consequences of losing attachment, which for a Viltrumite, whose entire value is measured based on the efficiency of his fighting prowess and durability and surviving getting curb stomped by his parents, was a bone-shattering experience to say the least. Nolan was Omni-Man, an invulnerable godlike being. The decisions he made to massacre the Guardians of the Globe after Mark shortly got his powers, to terrorize Earth when fighting Mark, he never truly realized the consequences of his actions, so he returned to Earth this episode to apologize to Debbie. We have to realize that Omni-Man is still on the path toward learning what empathy is, and with that being the case, is very self-centric in his interpretation of what the path of redemption looks like for him, without having others who have been affected by the aftermath of his actions to rake his eyes open. These Invincible episodes illustrate that every choice has a consequence, and sometimes those choices fracture the bonds forged with those you love most. Forgiveness is not to be expected, and in Nolan's own words, is something to be earned from others and measured through action. Nolan is aware that words cannot make up for what he's done, but the issue is he fails to understand the long-term impact those actions have on others. I mean, just look at him this episode. He's telling Debbie he loves her, acting as if she's simply just been sitting in place for eternity that he's been gone, waiting for him to apologize. And not to mention the conversation that he had with your boy Art, who, just let me tell you, thought he was about to get put on a t-shirt when Omni-Man showed up. Omni-Man is almost somewhat confused as to why Art is not acting like the relationship they had prior to is still intact, as he's still working through the throes of performing empathy. Kicking it back in the chair with Art as he did when trying to mask his identity as the killer, he's shattered by the reality that the integrity and blind trust once lent to him are fractured, and that the hero persona he had built on planet Earth was completely destroyed. Now, we gotta be honest, your boy Omni-Man was an absolute dog in Invincible Season 4. He was listening to Debbie talk about how he ravaged her family, killed countless others, and traumatized hundreds who had their loved ones taken from them in the aftermath of his betrayal, left his family on Earth, had a purplish bluish bug child on Thraxa 2 months later, made his first baby mama raise the kid of his second baby mama, and then was like, but I'm sorry though. I mean, I think this is likely the most that Nolan has actually been hurt, emotionally at least, when Debbie started spitting that super hot fire and essentially was dehumanizing him and calling all the effort to help Omni-Man assimilate into understanding what it truly meant to be human. One of Omni-Man's greatest weaknesses, due to the nature of his upbringing on Viltrum, where empathy were virtually absent, is his inability to understand how his actions emotionally affect others. To some degree, it's even the same with how Omni-Man treats Oliver. It's this constant gripping vice that seems to only be relieved by others around him who understands what empathy is. Remember when he was arguing with Debbie this episode, he told her that fleeing to Thraxa and engaging with the bug lady was a mistake, and nothing that truly even mattered to him, which of course only pissed Debbie off even more. You have to remember that the Viltrum mind measures the worth of a life form by its strength. It's a code that I believe we'll see Omni-Man constantly trying to fracture and crack throughout the season. It's the innate Viltrum part of Nolan that assumes his actions will be absolved due to the magnitude of his strength rather than emotional welfare, where he must reconcile how those actions or lack thereof disrupt the lives of those around him. I mean, think about this. Oliver is still Nolan's son, and when he visited Earth after years and years of sending him away to live with Debbie, only his priorities with the path of redemption were of concern and reflected in his sole intentions to retrieve Mark and apologize to Debbie. With Oliver not even being at the forefront of his mind, though he later claims on the ship that he wanted to spare Oliver from him, which is yet another self-centric and self-absorbed position, as he didn't take into consideration what Oliver needed for him as a father. Though at the same time, Nolan was being blindly protective of him in the way fathers are supposed to be. Oliver spazzed out on Omni-Man and rightfully claimed he had just as much the right to protect his mother and planet that raised him as Mark. If there's anything that Invincible Season 4 has taught us, it's that actions are everything. In a world where Viltrumites like Omni-Man weigh the worth of a life form by their strength, the emotional side of things is an entirely different battlefield. Just like with Omni-Man, loyalty and trust are both paid with presence. A presence that was more like a void to Oliver, who grew up idolizing a father who didn't even respect him enough to visit him after he left him to be raised by Mark and Debbie. Respect is a two-way road, and until Omni-Man recognizes the weight of his absence and the fact that progressive effort must be put into rebuilding those wires, he'll continue stumbling on his path of redemption. I'll be honest, in Invincible Season 4, we all know Oliver was getting the absolute crap beat out of him. Bro was like, get away, I don't need help, Dad, only for Conquistador to start making an idiot sandwich out of him. I gotta be honest, we know he's got that Omni-Man demon in him, but I think he's going to be slowly doing the crew dirty for a bit unless he starts pocketing some sensu beans. And speaking of sensu beans, if you're enjoying the video right now, go ahead and yamcha that like button and subscribe button for me. We finally had our first run in with a Viltrumite cruiser in the Invincible War, and I'm not too sure if the boys were prepared to be throwing dukes with Viltrum and the armies at its beck and call, but for what it's worth, they stay true to the game. Oliver has this sense of wanting to belong and prove himself by battling with the big dogs. However, this seems to rope the crew into more danger than what it's worth, not because the vast difference in the power gap is the reason, but the fact that he doesn't acknowledge his limits. However, the dismissiveness, if we're being honest, could be attributed to wanting to prove himself to his father in hopes of showing Omni-Man that, like Mark Grayson, he too is worthy of being acknowledged. There are even some parts where Oliver pushes Omni-Man away from trying to help him, though eventually requires his assistance when he needs to get his breath together. Though to be fair, he's not the only reason for setbacks in the battle, as it's quite obvious that the Galactic Coalition is going to have to find some sort of way to deal with Viltrum cruiser technology if they're even going to have a chance of eradicating Viltrum. When your only way out of the skirmish is to hide inside a Viltrum ship, well, all I can say to that is, who is the toast now? I mean, it was a 20v1 with the Coalition as expected, and still struggling to mend the power gap between them and the Viltrumites. Though it plausibly could have ended another way if their additional forces hadn't appeared. Pride can definitely be quite a dangerous thing, as if it's blinding you, you begin to sacrifice the welfare of others in order to protect your own identity and state of affairs, even though both become fragile in the process. Hopefully we'll see Oliver do some introspection after getting popped real good by the Viltrumites. In Invincible Season 4, Episode 5, we see Mark and Conquest absolutely going for the juggler in the fight, and it was a brawl for the ages. Though Conquest didn't seem to be whispering any sweet things in Mark's ear this time, we're seeing this evolution with Mark accepting that there are just some people you have to delete from existence. After going back and forth about whether or not it's right to kill, when it comes to Viltrumites, well, Mark is not short of words when it comes to threatening their lives. This meter of right and wrong, it always seems to shatter and get flung out of the window when his enemies start threatening his family, or even worse, harming them like Conquest did to Oliver. Mark has come to accept that the lesser evil each time, when the price to pay is the life of his loved ones, is killing those threatening him. I mean, who here was shaken by the way Conquest went out? I mean, he didn't just get choked, he went out swinging for sure, and also, well, pulling out a roll of sausages from Mark's tummy. I mean, this was pretty hard to watch, if I'm being honest with you. Conquest is honestly a damn demon for this shit. Pulling out this man's intestines and leaving Mark out there twitching and gasping for breath, scraping and scrambling. It looks like this season Mark is going to be finding out that the price for protecting his loved ones is going to be a long enduring trial of pain. All that to say that the upcoming Invincible War is gearing up to be a good one, but maybe not for the ones who were stuck in the Viltrum cruiser heading right back to the Regent. They're likely fucked, but at least they have some video games to play in the meantime. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Does Omni-Man deserve redemption after all that? What do you think of Mark's fight against Conquest? You can also follow my IG page at lvamp23 and other socials in the link below. If you want more analysis of your favorite fictional characters, fictional worlds, go ahead and smash that like button. Drop them in the comment section below, turn on that notification bell, and subscribe for more. The direction of progress is forward, and it's only up from here. With that, remember, if ever you're lost in force your words, strip your mind from fantasy and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.